What's up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle. Today is April 12th of 2023, and last week on April 5th, the Gotion EV Battery Panel held a virtual panel that I unfortunately didn't get to watch because I went to the protest instead. So these are all the key players on Team Gotion that are supposed to be answering our questions, but I haven't heard good things, so we'll see if they do answer any questions. Before I jump into that, last night was the Green Township Board meeting, and it was amazing. Well over 111 people showed up, so we went outside, but luckily it was a beautiful April day, 70, just over 70 and sunny, and it was amazing to be a part of that. I live streamed all the way to 8:30, but unfortunately my phone died, which is a new move, and I'm very sorry about that to everybody who spoke after my phone died. I will improve, of course. I try not to make the same mistake twice, and I plan on getting a microphone because that was another issue. But I did capture some pretty epic faces from the board that you might want to check out, and what I didn't capture, the Midwesterner did a great job, and he was there all the way till the end. So I will link his channel down below as well. He's doing great stuff. So I'm not going to take too much time though. Thank you for joining me, guys, and smash the like button if you get value out of this, and hit subscribe if you're into this kind of content.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Jim Chapman. I'm the Green Township Supervisor. Charter Township is proud to host this panel discussion about the Gotion Battery Plant. This is not a board meeting. There's no agenda or business to be conducted. These are your questions presented to a panel of people experienced in the fields in question. The purpose of tonight's panel is to provide you with answers. Since multiple questions on the same subjects have been asked, we will try to cover all the issues by utilizing a representative sample of the 150 plus questions without being repetitive. We're targeting this to be about an hour and a half, but we will go to 2 hours if that's what's needed. All questions all questions submitted have been posted verbatim on our website, and we intend to
Except
have
for
written answers
47.
for all those questions available in the next couple weeks.
There was a group of 47 questions they didn't answer.
Change in our township. We would like to hear some straight answers on our questions. Those from the outside of our township that would like to listen in are more than welcome. We're here to listen to questions, not me. So at this point, let me introduce tonight's moderator. Dean Mike Staley of the Engineering Technology Program at Ferris has graciously offered to serve at that. So without any
where's
further
Dr.
ado,
Bill Pink?
turn it over to
I thought
Dean
he was
Staley.
going to be on this panel.
Thank you. I think we're gonna, are we gonna go around the room and introduce ourselves or just start out? Yeah, why don't we introduce ourselves? John, do you wanna go?
I'm John Fribley, and I am a retired industrial pollution prevention coordinator.
Thank you. Chuck?
Hello, everybody. I'm Chuck Thalen. I'm Vice President of Gotion North America Manufacturing. Nice to speak with you.
Yeah, and your boss is
Patrick.
Chen Li.
Hi, I'm Patrick Teed, Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy.
Randy?
Consumers.
Hi, everybody. Randy Thalen, President and CEO of The
Force
Right
for
Place, which is
change.
an economic development organization serving Greater Grand Rapids, and we have a partnership with Mecosta County Development Corporation. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jeremy?
a
Yeah,
partnership.
good evening, everybody. Jeremy Webb, I'm the Managing Director of the Business Development
this is
Projects
Paul
team
Bullock.
with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation.
Oh, Michigan Economic
Yeah.
Development
And
Corporation.
Kevin is having some technical difficulties, so we'll leave that for now.
Dean, we also have Tim Nessel in by phone.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Tim Nessel with Superintendent Manager of Mecosta County Road Commission.
Okay, thank you. So those are our panelists tonight. And Chuck, do you want to open up with a few words?
Yes, thank you so much. I think I sent over a presentation. Can we put slide 1 on the screen. There we go. Thank you very much. My intention is just to show you a brief background of the company before we get to the questions and answers, and then also talk to the 3 main topics that we're discussing tonight. So next slide, please. If you're unfamiliar with the company, is a slide coming up? Next slide.
Who's in charge of this?
Slide 2, please.
Is it Jim Chapman?
It's up on our screen and we're trying to get it up on
Yeah,
broadcast
see,
screen.
we need some.
Okay.
We need some young techies to be involved.
Well, I'll start to speak to it. You'll see the picture in a second. So Gotion is a multinational corporation. We were founded in China in 2005, and then the company went from private to public in 2015. Ironically, at the same time, we incorporated in North America out of Fremont, Fremont, California, and then recently, 2016 or 17, then also put an R&D facility in Ohio. Those 2 facilities employ a total of roughly 70 people right now. We support our region just like the other regions. So we are in Germany. Our European headquarters is in Göttingen, Germany. We're also in Vietnam and Thailand, and obviously in China. We also have R&D facilities in Singapore, Japan, and some other locations. So as you can see, maybe sooner or later from the picture, we've expanded from just R&D facilities, because we do see ourselves as an innovation company, into manufacturing locations. The newest manufacturing locations are the United States. So we launched Europe a year ago, June.
Yeah, because this
we
is all
also
part of
went
Silk
public,
Road.
by the way, out of the Swiss Stock Exchange in July of 2022.
This is China's Silk Road.
And slide before that, please. Oh, no, this is okay.
And you're bringing it in.
Yeah, go ahead and go to the next slide. So yeah, in 2022, what we incorporated out of Swiss Stock Exchange also. So we're not only a multinational company, we're traded on 2 different stock exchanges, one in Shanghai, one in Switzerland. So our footprint that we're planning for
every couple
Michigan
months.
specifically is to expand and manufacturing global footprint and bring in about a $2.3 billion investment. We have quoted to MEDC, Jeremy, that we will have 2,350 jobs by roughly 2030. Our start of construction for this facility is planned for Q2 of 2023. However, it'll be late Q2, so really beginning of Q3. So you can target roughly July of this year. Start of production after a 2-year construction cycle, and
July is when the stocks are supposed to change again.
Will be
if you go to
2025.
Chinese
this
website
facility then
and
will
read
also
their news.
launch simultaneously with a second facility in the United States. The location I cannot yet disclose because we're still under negotiation for finalizing that purchase. And that will be the primary user of the product coming out of Big Rapids.
So why can't
so
you
they
tell
will
us?
be making the battery cells. Big Rapids will be making the battery materials for anode cathodes specifically. The original, the kick on for that second facility is roughly 30 gigawatt hour. We're going to target 40 gigawatt hour. However, that takes a lot of space and effort. So that is what we plan to do in North America. That second plant will ship its product to North American customers throughout the United States. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the company looks like. Where do our products go? Please go to the previous slide. Our products go into multiple different segments. The previous one, please. Slide 2. So passenger vehicles, cars, trucks, vans, commercial vehicles, e-buses. As a matter of fact, we had the very first e-bus route in the Netherlands. Special vehicles, delivery vehicles.
And they start on fire randomly.
Supplying to a North America customer for their delivery vans. Light vehicles. This is more of a Asia thing. This is really a what's called a plug and play or battery exchange model, where you can just take your expired battery, replace it in the scooter, and then keep on going. And last but not least, energy storage and energy solutions. What that is large containers. You can see the picture. Basically, it's a big box full of battery cells and cooling systems and fire suppression in case that ever happens.
That's what I see.
So we support mainly our customers today in North America,
hazard.
roughly a 60-40 split between EV and ESS. and I expect that to continue. Slide 4, please. Why choose Big Rapids? This question comes up with every conversation. So this is kind of a solution funnel.
Because Whitmer sold
It's
us
a
out to the
problem-solving
World
technique
Economic
we use
Forum.
in engineering. We have 44 potential greenfield sites. What I didn't list here is we also looked at around a dozen brownfields. The brownfield didn't
And
lend
that's what
itself
we're going
to
to be
this,
if we let this come in.
product because most brownfield buildings are too short.
We're going to be a
We
blighted
need roughly
area
70
if
feet
any
high.
accident
So
happens.
we were looking at greenfield
And the
sites to
government will
build a
just
new taller
buy it
building.
out from us,
We
eminent
looked at
domain.
multiple different things of all those sites. You can see all
It's
their
perfect for them.
characteristics. They're on the perimeter.
Not so much
And
for
then
us.
that narrowed down to 14 potential sites. I personally visited each site and spoke with the local authorities, the industrial supply. I spoke with the utility companies and really narrowed that down to 3 very, very capable potential sites. When you look at the overall final solution for Big Rapids, what were the key
final solution
enablers? And that was really the
Whenever I
top-notch
hear that,
capability of fair
I
state,
don't like it.
not only to produce 4-year bachelor's and master's degrees and doctorate degrees, but also to produce 6-month, 1-year, 2-year types of education certificates, which feeds directly into our workforce. Michigan Works will be our partner for all recruiting. We will be recruiting out of Michigan first, specifically out of the Big Rapids area first, then Michigan, then globally, or excuse me, nationally. So the recruiting effort will have a priority. I plan to put a 2-week recruiting priority on any Big Rapids local applicants, and then we'll look outside from there. And last but not least, Consumers Energy. One of the key characteristics of our company is we consider ourselves
Consumers
very
Energy
green and environmentally friendly.
is
And
one
that
of the
means that we
worst
want
energy
sustainable
companies
energy available
in the country.
So when we're buying our energy from Consumers Electric, we will be buying sustainable energy, 100% renewable,
Because
to satisfy not only our needs, but also a lot of our customers demand a very small carbon footprint for this type of product, as you can imagine. Next slide, please.
there's really no way, because wind turbines
So,
and solar panels
let's talk
are
about the 3 rumors that are
fueled
going
by
around.
fossil
I
fuels.
think if we look at all the questions
So it's
tonight,
not
they'll
green,
be
it's a
really
lie.
categorized in these 3 points. Number 1, regards to communism scare. Gotion Inc. is a wholly owned subsidiary of Gotion High Tech. I think I've already said that many times. I've been in the automotive industry for about 38 years and Gotion for a little over 3.25 years. And up till October 22nd, I held the position of responsible for all of North America operations. This put me in weekly discussions with not only our local leaders, but also global leaders. And I can tell you that never in my time with this company did I ever hear one of the people in the North America office discuss politics or party alignments. I heard absolutely nothing about being a right-wing Republican, a Democrat, a radical socialist, communist, nothing. People don't in this company. Never did I hear any other leader from another
Okay, so they
location
didn't tell
reference a
you, so that means
pro-communist
it
party
doesn't
position.
exist.
And while traveling with our CEO and Chairman Lee for about 6 weeks last year, a very extensive travel schedule in the summer, I never heard him once reference a communism ideal or directive. Never, not once. So is the Communist Party penetrated this company? No. Do we have articles of incorporation that require a specific paragraph or you don't do business in the country of China?
I'm going to pause it just for a second. I don't want to pause it too much, but I wanted to say this, that the definition of a wholly owned subsidiary from the Collins English Dictionary is a wholly owned subsidiary is a company whose stock is owned by a parent company that can control all its activities. So you can sit there and say it's a subsidiary, it's not the parent. The parent is in charge of the child. Well, at least they should be.
Yes, but it is not a corporate culture. So despite what any current politician might say, there is no communist plot within Gotion to make Big Rapids a center to spread communism. There's multiple claims that Gotion will bring communism to Big Rapids and will bring anywhere from 300, I even saw 11,000 Chinese nationals to run the plant. And this is totally false. So what will happen is we will bring in roughly 20 to 50 people.
Now you're saying 20 to 50.
I myself will be the plant manager. I'm slated to be plant manager, and I can assure you I am not a communist. I'll begin locally hiring employees. As soon as our contracts are finished, I will hire key personnel to travel to our plants around the world for training. And as I said, we will prioritize local hires. We will not be bringing over 11,000 people to run this plant from another
I
country.
don't know why
That does not work.
it's not cleared up.
More than 2 months ago, we also began the process to voluntarily file our own self-funded CFIUS declaration. CFIUS stands for Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. That declaration was, we tried to submit that last Friday. The federal government asked for additional information about the property owners and their tax ID numbers for each piece of property. So that is now concluded, and I've been told that will be entered into the federal government tomorrow. So we will abide by their findings. It takes roughly 30 to 45 days to review that CFIUS submission. And after that, we will obey their conclusions and comply with their findings and declarations.
I just read an article that they're having difficulties because of all the NDAs doing the
Just to note,
investigation.
I don't know if everybody realizes this, but there's already 52 Chinese companies in Michigan doing business. These international companies started
One
in
of them
China,
is
but
in Greenville,
they're
and
all
they
around
just
the
had
world.
an
Yeah, I've never heard of
fire?
a single one of them ever threatening our way of life.
They've
Point
had
number two,
complaint after
environmental
complaint
concerns. I've heard and read dozens of speculation
for
topics and scare
endangering the
tactics,
workers. They don't care.
really
They
designed
just
to
pay
make
fines.
people believe that Goshen will destroy the environment. Nothing could be further from the truth. We will pump, there's one I like, we will pump all the water out of the water table and suck the water, drying up the wells surrounding the local homes. The truth is, our water consumption will be roughly 715,000 gallons per day. That is 50%, 50% of the pump
We don't want you
capacity
to have it.
that's at the
How about
current
that?
wells on the Big Rapids Township property. There are 2 wells. We only need 1. I assume, and I'm going to be asking to look at the study that Big Rapids Township conducted to conclude that those wells were safe for the environment. So we're continuing to look at that. Here's another one of my favorites. Here's Goshen will have large chemical ponds open to the air and will pollute the water source from Muskegon River. Storing these very, very expensive materials out in open air in a contaminated pond would cost us millions and millions in scrap material. This claim is not real. It is not going to happen. Goshen will be creating a special
How
waste
can you
and
sit
toxic
there and
waste
say
will
that
be
it's
pumped in the
not going to
grounds and
happen?
rivers.
Do you know
The water that
the
we
future?
use never even comes in contact with the materials that we process.
It's not
If
supposed
you
to.
get these materials wet, you destroy the material. So no, we will not be pumping materials or minerals or chemicals into the
So
water.
disingenuous. No one's saying
I
that.
see also
It's about
claims of air
accidents.
emissions. I see claims of inevitable fire from the batteries that are being stored here. Just a reminder, there are no batteries in this location. This is a battery material facility, not a battery facility, and on and on. So but at the end of the day, none of these claims are true. They don't have any basis in fact whatsoever. So we will provide the truth to all these.
The facility that is in Greenville, the fire started just somebody was doing work and a spark from a hand grinder went into the ingredients and boom, started on fire. Building started on fire. That's all it takes. Just one accident. You think that person intentionally had a spark, had a spark go into that highly flammable material? Of course not. It's an accident. And now the building is on fire and the chemicals are in the air. Well, not now. It's put out, but you know what I mean. So again, accidents.
Topics
you can't say it's not going to
and
happen.
Lastly,
you don't know.
How will Goshen plant change our way of life in our very beloved lazy town? I live here too, if everybody doesn't know that. I joined Jim
until the
Chapman,
plant gets put in and then
one
you're
and a half
out to
hour
the
radio
next
show
one.
last March 28th.
That's why you're here.
We were interviewed by 3 just self-described community leaders, each of which have been longtime small business people, having employed many people in the community over the last 30 years. They were all in their mid-60s, most of them retired, and clearly have no intention or desire to work in this manufacturing plant. They definitely have opposing views to what it should be. They're very happy with the status quo, and if we were to stop this project, they would be happy, but it would result in the young people of the area that are not 65 years old and still work on their career, they would be denied a chance at financial stability.
They don't want these terrible jobs.
I don't agree with that position. One person on the team stated their family owns and operates a 2,000-acre farm in the area. I don't know about you, but my quick math at 5,000 per tillable acre, that's about $10 million of farm ownership in one of the 10 poorest counties of the state. I'll be very blunt. Another person stated that they have built a beautiful horse farm where they live because they love the agriculture property around them. That person built that farm knowing that 20 years ago, the property across the street was zoned industrial. So putting the dream farm next to a known industrial and commercial zone property in that road frontage was their choice. I'm sorry they feel this way, but they definitely don't want to look at an ugly building across the street from the horse farm. And lastly, the third person posing questions was very pragmatic. He tried to promote the opinion that the company will somehow bring communism to America. As a retired psychologist, he used his skills that he has honed over the years when he told listeners to pull out pictures of their dearly departed and their loved heroes that served in the American military. It strongly painted a picture that any person that supports this project is un-American. I don't agree with that position. So lastly, I would say, I wonder if any of these critics use an iPhone to communicate with.
Oh my
An
gosh.
iPhone that's made in China. Or maybe they participate in this online rally today with an HP or Dell computer that was also made in China. Maybe even one of them is now, as we speak,
we're too
turning out the
reliant upon
dishwasher,
China.
the
That is
washer,
a problem
the
we
dryer,
want to
the
fix,
furnace
not
out of
bring a
their
Chinese
house,
company
because they
here
have controllers
to
and motors in
continue
them,
on
mostly
with the Silk
Chinese
Road
made.
and China taking
The
over.
fact is, we live in a global industry. And to bring a Chinese manufacturing or multinational manufacturing site into North America is the onshoring that our past president really promoted for us to do.
We don't want
So I
EV
support
tech.
that. Very last point here. I've been watching Mecosta County, and this is a personal perspective. It has nothing to do with my company. It has nothing to do with the people on this board, but I just want to make this statement. People ask why I chose Big Rapids. And yes, I used
It's because you thought we
the
were all
data
just going to roll over
to
and
support
let it happen.
and
Because
to,
we're a poor county.
encourage my superiors to put this facility here.
But you
why did I
thought
choose Big
wrong.
Rapids? I chose it so I can help 2,000 total strangers. I want them to earn a good wage for an honest day's work. And I want them to gain financial stability.
Yes, new beginnings. He is.
My parents taught me a long time ago to help those in need, even if you don't know who they are. I believe that onshoring this company into Big Rapids will bring with it a $106 million yearly payroll for the people in this county.
I think it's like $480,000 per
friends,
job.
Is the best thing I can think
That's
of
how much taxpayers are
to help
paying.
2,000 total strangers.
$480,000.
So that's why I've led this charge. Over the past 4 months, we've
You
been
led this
forced
charge
fed
because you were
a
tapped
big
on the
fear
shoulder by
sandwich,
the World Economic
which
Forum.
is made by some of the things that
Admit it.
aren't, rooted in fact.
You worked for Robert Bosch,
I just
and
want
they
to use
said,
a
hey,
quote. I
move
won't say
over
where I
here
got this
and
quote from,
help
but I
us
love
put this EV plant in and get
Fear is an
Michigan
incompetent teacher.
ready for World Economic
And with
Forum
that, let's go ahead
takeover
and
with
please
the EV
begin our
batteries.
question and answer portion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. We have a number of questions to get through tonight. We're going to try to get the questions answered
It
in 2
is
to 3
completely
minutes each,
scripted.
so we can make progress
Which
through
is
all
why
of
I
our
went to the
questions.
protest and didn't watch it.
The first 8 questions come from the environmental category. And Chuck, the first question goes to you. What country or state will the lithium, cobalt, nickel, and any other compounds or chemicals used in the factory come from? And where will they enter the state of Michigan? And what will the transportation mode coming into Michigan be?
I'm interested to see what he says. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, Chuck, I think you're muted.
Thank you. I just returned from the International Battery Conference, which is down in Orlando, Florida. Was down there for a little over a week. And one of the things that we learn, and one of the things I've read, is in the United States, if we want to make lithium-ion batteries to the scale that is being demanded by the federal government, we currently have about 7% of the planned capacity requirements here in the U.S.
Why is the government demanding anything?
93% of all materials have to come from offshore. Okay, that's a big number. I don't see any localized production of some of these elements anytime soon, because it takes roughly 5 years to put it in a mine. Then you have to have the refineries with the mine. So that takes about 5 years. It also takes
destroys the planet?
Many months and years to get a permit to do so. So this question is very valid. A lot of this stuff doesn't come from our states.
It comes from Argentina.
Okay, so we are looking at roughly 2
Brazil.
major components that go into these batteries that we'll be producing anode and cathode for. Those 2 main products are the cathode and the anode. The cathode is really the active part. That's what houses the lithium that you all hear about. And that lithium iron phosphate is deposited on that cathode side. Lithium comes from a few different locations in the world. Some of them are undesirable. So what we did is we secured a desirable location in Argentina, the north of Argentina,
Argentina
within
is
what they
being
call the lithium
decimated.
triangle. If people don't know, there's a bunch of salt flats about 11, 12,000 feet up in the air inside some mountains. When the volcanoes erupted many, many years ago, it deposited all these lithium deposits in the salt flats that are there. So our plan is to bring that out of Argentina, which is not an objectionable location. As far as the anode, the key
Not an
component of that
objectionable?
is graphite. Graphite is very locally available. As a matter of fact, it's in the working end of every #2 pencil that we give our children to go to school with. That's graphite. Yes, it's more highly refined. There's more to it than that. I kind of dumbed it down a little bit, but
You kind
the
of
graphite
lied.
is
That's
key.
what you did.
There are
You
some
lied.
other industry secret materials that go into there, but those are the two
Industry
main
secret.
materials
That's what they're
I
talking
buy
about. I
that
wanted
we
to
use
hear
for
that
this
myself.
process. So that's where they will come
Should be
from.
no secret when we're paying for it, and it's
There's
our
concern
potential
about
harm.
cobalt and manganese coming in the area. At this time, we are not planning to make a nickel cobalt manganese style battery. Those batteries are desirable by some, but the lithium ferrous phosphate battery that we support is the most stable, maybe not as energy dense, but the most stable battery that can be made. So that is what we're focusing on. So
That's what
for the
lithium
short
mining
term,
does.
some of this lithium will come from Goshen
Look at how
mines that
terrible this
exist
is. This is
currently
pools of
in China,
poison.
just because it will take some time to get Argentina ramped up. But as soon as Argentina is ramped up, that will
But it's not an
supply
issue.
all non-Asia
Because
entities.
it's not
with
America,
lithium,
it's in
because
Argentina.
There's so much there. There's 100 years worth of it there. So that's where we're going to be pulling a lot of material from.
Okay. The next question is about water, and this goes to both John and Chuck. How much groundwater will the plant consume? How will it be processed? And are there any biohazards, chemicals in the discarded water, the effluent?
I'll speak to
I feel your
the
pain,
amount
new
of water
beginnings.
and what might be in it, and then I'll let John speak if that's okay. So the water consumption, as I mentioned, is 715,000 gallons per day. That's to start up. Our intention is to recycle as
38,000
much
per
of that
hour.
as possible.
Oh, okay.
That is
Sorry.
water that's mainly used in the cooling process of the manufacturing. When I
That is
say
why they need a
cooling,
river.
it doesn't directly see the material. It goes through heat exchanging materials to pull heat into the product and then take heat back out of the process. Okay, so this water is highly recyclable and it does not come out of the process with a bunch of contaminants. This can easily be supplied by one of the 2 wells, as I already mentioned. I was told that the well capacity per well, there's 2 wells currently in Big Rapids Township, and they are sized at 720,000 gallons per day. So we would be utilizing one of these wells. Again, I'm going to be looking forward to the study that drove the permit for those wells. So from a company standpoint, that's what we're looking at. So I'll turn it over to John now.
The
Yeah,
problem
and John, the
is
second part
it's
of that
all
question really had to do with
audited
how
by
will the draw
the government
of that amount
which
of water
is-
affect the home wells in the area?
Well, I don't
Hey.
believe it would affect the home wells at all, because of the study that Big Rapids Township would have done at the time they put those wells in. So I'm not really that familiar on the wells and the water drawdown.
Why not?
I see the other part of the question is what might be in and where the water is going to go. And they're going to be discharging to the Big Rapids wastewater treatment plant, which would be called publicly owned treatment works as far as the state and EPA is
Treatment
concerned.
plants don't do a good enough job.
And they have their own ordinances as far as heavy metals and contaminants that Goshen would have to meet those ordinances. Most of the heavy metals that may possibly be in anything coming from the plant is listed in the ordinance in like parts per billion. So it's very minute that they're able to discharge. The city of Big Rapids should be overseeing that. And then they're over, the city has an industrial pre-treatment coordinator that would be sampling and doing all that, writing a discharge permit when the factory gets open. And that is all overseen by Michigan Eagle. And they are overseen by the EPA with all the regulations.
And the EPA.
So as far as any pollution
Internal
goes,
audits.
the regulations
trust
are
that?
there and they are so tight that
Is it worth it?
There should be absolutely no concern of any pollution passing through the treatment plant and going into the Muskegon River.
No concern. Trust EPA, trust Eagle.
Keeping with
That's
the
all I have.
water questions, the next question.
Ask East Palestine,
Chuck,
Ohio residents
and
whether
John,
they
if you
trust
want
us.
to jump into this one as well.
Well,
What assurances can you give
EPA.
that the groundwater intrusion or surface water discharge from the manufacturing activities will not compromise the aquifer or the Muskegon River?
great questions. Too bad they don't answer them.
I'll say what I know, but clearly John's more in depth on this. As we go through
Clearly,
our
John
permit
doesn't really know.
processes, you have to go through water permit, you have to go air permit, you have to go through site preparation, groundworks, and so on. So all of our declarations for any kind of contaminants will be addressed at that point. If, again, as I mentioned, the process that uses the cooling water does not get contaminants introduced. The water that will be mainly discharged into the sewer is going to be any water that you would see out of a common home, out of your bathroom, out of your kitchen, your shower. And so if I remember correctly, the assumption is 33 gallons per person per day for those types of operations. There will also be a secondary water treatment plant, so pre-treatment plant directly on our facility. And we will pre-treat that water to make sure it's of a proper pH and no contaminants or no enes, no benzene, no toluene, that kind of stuff. The goal is also to use that pre-treated water back into our system to cool off our machinery. And if we're happy enough to use our water to make sure our machinery doesn't go bad, it's going to meet the requirements. So maybe I'll turn the rest over to John, but we do have a pre-treatment station already budgeted on site.
Where are the facts?
Okay.
How about
like
you give
I
us
say,
some facts?
They will be required to pre-treat and meet any of the city and federal state ordinances on anything that would be in the water as far as the amounts, which most of them are parts per billion. There's a few of the more hazardous that are actually listed in parts per trillion. And that's all overseen, like I say, by the city, the state, and the EPA. So the reason for that is anything discharged to the sewer works will not pass through and go into the Muskegon River.
Okay, good.
That's all I got there.
The next question is more of a general question, Chuck. It's asking what precautions are going to be taken with the daily operations to protect water, soil, and air.
When we submit our permits, one of those categories that we have to submit to is continuing conformance. So how do we measure any of our outputs, any of our emissions, and make sure that gets reported on a regular basis as defined by local authorities? Just so happens my closest friend in the world works for the Air Quality Department of the State of Michigan. So I talk to him
it just so happens.
this. I understand how he does his site evaluations and how often he has to submit to the EPA.
Man,
it's a lot. So I know that we're going to have continuing conformance, and we will also, by the way, have our own environmental health and safety team of experts on site. So we will be hiring this team very quickly to make sure that not only the continuing conformance is adhered to, but also during the design phase and when we're actually designing buildings before any construction even starts, their technical expertise will be involved in those designs.
The next question is to Chuck and Randy. Was there a state of Michigan environmental impact study done, and what was the conclusion regarding building the plant at this location?
I'm already off mute, so I'll just keep on going. Randy can fill in any blanks. There is not one single overreaching environmental study that happens for something like this. You have to meet several different legs of the stool to get authorization, as I mentioned, air quality, water quality, stormwater detention. These types of things are all necessary requirements. So we are already in parallel paths putting together our designs to make sure that any impacts to air, water, or groundwater or water runoff are minimized. So as was mentioned by John, these works are required. We will not get a permit without one. Just for example, for the air quality permit, we have to declare what kind of air emissions we're going to use and what type of treatment solutions we're going to have. And then that is authorized or not authorized, and then they put that in one of two major classifications as a minor or major. Major
So again, he didn't answer the question. One more pause really quick. Look at this. You have the multiple impact reports Goshen VP Chuck Thelen referred to during the April 5th panel, which go to the permitting commissions for the state, are not environmental impact reports, they're permit applications. An impact report is performed by an independent party before permits are filed, as part of a developer's due diligence. So again, why aren't you answering the question? And this is from the Big Rapids Pioneer, letter to the editor, Word Comes to the Shire. I had this in my video yesterday. A great article. I'll link it down below. Check it out. Awesome. Awesome.
is very self-explanatory. It means you've got a problem and you have to go fix your problem before you get a permit. The minor is what we plan to fall within. By our calculations, we're well within the minor error classification, so it should not be an issue. But clearly, we will submit all of our plans as to how we do that.
Yeah, Mike, I would just add, there's been talk of that in environmental impact study. There hasn't been a formal impact study. That is a collection of the application permits that Chuck and the team will be supplying. So that will be compiled at that point. We did do
At that point,
some due
give it to
diligence
us.
looking at other battery related facilities across the state of Michigan, 2 in Holland,
That you
1
put
in the
in,
Livonia area,
Randy.
and 1 in the Midland area, just to ascertain what their history has been, and found none.
That didn't live
In
up
terms
to
of
its
environmental
promises.
issues,
It's extremely
so we've done
dangerous.
a little bit of background digging there.
Good. And this is kind of a follow-on question. We talked about what those criteria are. This next question asks, how will the contamination be measured and monitored, both air, water, and soil, by Goshen and or the EPA? And this question is to Chuck and John.
I think that's fairly redundant what we just said, but I'll give you some more answer. Maybe this will help. When we put together a manufacturing process, and this is every manufacturing and automotive, I hope in other industries as well.
Thank you
We
guys
go
for
through
joining
what's
me, by the
called a
way.
failure mode effects analysis. So it's called a FEMA for short. So for the plant, it will be a process failure mode effects analysis. That's where we go through every single possible conceivable failure mode of the plant, whether it's a process that breaks down or whether it's a piece of equipment that wears out, and what is the net effect and what is the risk to everybody, the community, the company, and so on.
Yeah, when's that done?
When you look at the FEMA, there are 3 criteria you look at. You get a risk priority number that's calculated by what is the expected occurrence, how often could it happen, what's the severity of the failure mode, and then what's the detectability that you have a failure mode. So we use this to define what are the risks that we have to pay attention to. You multiply those 3 factors together, you come up with what's called the risk priority number, an RPN, and then anything over a quantity of 40 has to be addressed. So for example, a severity, if a material were to leak into the groundwater, that's a severity of 10 automatically. So that means you have to be able to detect it. You have to know that there's very low occurrence, or you have to address and put in secondary redundant systems, primary and secondary redundant systems. So we're very, very judicious on how you put together this process, FEMA. Hopefully that helps understand a little bit as to how we're managing this stuff. And if there is any kind of cleanup, we have our own EHS team on site. So if we have somebody knocks over a pallet of material, that cleanup is done immediately within the plant. We will also have a material safety data sheet that is submitted to the local authorities. So whether it be fire or any first responder, what materials are in the plant that should be considered, and more so to that, where are they located? Okay, so if there is any kind of issue that
100,000 gallons of
arises because
radioactive
of
water
failure mode,
leaked.
everybody should be very well
You think they
versed
didn't have
as
the
to
same
where
kind
it's
of
coming from.
processes?
Lastly on that,
And yet,
if there is happen to be a thermal event,
a huge leak. How did
we
that
have our own
happen?
fire suppression system, and we have to have a secondary fire suppression. So if for some reason we run out of water, the pump quits working, we will have a 500,000 gallon water tank next to the facility that will be a secondary fire suppression just in case.
That detail is very helpful. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next category, which is questions regarding China and the origin of the company. And this first question goes to you, Chuck. There are claims that Goshen is owned and controlled by the Communist Party, and they will use the community resources to spy on U.S. citizens. What is the truth regarding this topic?
Yeah, Let's hear it
Well,
from the one that works
I
for
guess I should have saved
Chen
my
Li,
opening remarks for this question, shouldn't I?
I'm
a
gonna
member of the
put it in here just in case those that are
CPPCC.
watching didn't hear all of the introductory statement.
Okay.
But I
Sure,
think it's
I'll
worth
repeat it.
repeating. Yeah.
I'll repeat it. So again, I've been in the industry for 38 years. I've been at Gotion for a little over 3.25 years. I was responsible for all operations in North America, which means I interfaced with all of our locations as well as all of our global locations. We have leadership meetings for collaboration to make sure we're all singing out of the
You're
same.
not answering the question.
And never in my time with this company have I ever heard anybody mention anything about
That
a party
doesn't matter
affiliation,
what you
whether it's
heard.
Democrat, Republican, Communist, Socialist, whatever.
What
People
matters
don't talk
is
about
your
it here.
boss a member
I
of the
also traveled
CCP?
for 6 weeks with our CEO and Chairman Lee that people are
He is
bringing into
a member of
question.
the
I
World
can
Economic
tell you from
Forum, young
my
global leader.
experience with him, he's never, ever made a reference to a communist ideal or directive. As a matter of fact, he has my trust. I think he's an honest man. And when I've discussed things with him and he's told me that I'm going to make a change based on your input, he respects my input and he makes those changes.
I've heard
So he doesn't just
that he
shrug
really
me off
doesn't
as
like
not
Chen
being
Li.
a member or whatever. He takes my input very, very seriously. So that relationship is there. But no, I've never seen or heard of any kind of push to bring some underground communist plot into Big Rapids. As far as that goes, as I mentioned, this rumor about 300 to 11,000 multinationals
No, we don't
coming
care
in and
about that
overrunning
rumor.
the city
Stop saying
is
the
flat
same
out
stuff.
false. This will not happen. We will bring 20
It
to
is
50 people
frustrating
to
to
help with
watch.
our process set up, roughly 12 months worth, and then they will go home. This plant will be run by Michiganders, I hope. I will be the first one. And then whoever succeeds me, hopefully they're Michigander. If not, they'll be an American. You can't, if anybody's ever worked in a manufacturing environment, you can't lead the team if you don't understand their culture. So to have a Chinese leader in that position makes no sense whatsoever. You will never get the production operational efficiency that you will get from
Where
a
does
local
that
leader.
project
And by the way,
manager
I am
get
not a
their?
communist.
Where do they get their orders
Jim,
from?
I'm gonna move to the local concerns questions, and this question goes to you, Jim. Will Green Township request a review from the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States, like Big Rapids Township did because Gotion backed out after being asked that question? And if the answer is no, why not?
Okay. Now, whether or not that was a reason that Gotion changed their mind on Big Rapids Township's industrial park is a separate issue. But as to the CFIUS, quite honestly, it doesn't make much sense for our township to do it. Big Rapids Township's monthly meeting last night, as I understand it, their attorney advised them in regards to their application that, and I'm paraphrasing, you don't have enough money in your budget to afford what it would cost to apply.
How is that right?
I do know that our congressman has already met and spoken to Treasury Secretary Yellen, requesting that a review be done on all the battery plants in the state of Michigan. I have been led to believe, and I believe Mr. Thalen mentioned already tonight, that just to clear the air, Gotion has applied themselves just to get that cleared. So with both our congressman and with the Gotion already starting it, Big Rapids Township having the option and backing out, giving the cost that apparently it would run
Gotion
to do that,
is that confident
sense, so no,
they're going to get what they want done.
Will not be asking for a CFIUS review.
Let me add a couple words for those that did maybe hear earlier. Over the last roughly 2.5 months, we've been putting together our voluntary self-declaration. This is a very large document. I think it has 12 or 13 sections, and each section has multiple bullet points. They request every piece of information possible about the area, about the property owners, about the
we should have
the
all the
leaders of the
information
company,
before we give our
and so on.
taxpayer dollars
So
to
we
this.
had an initial submission
I don't think that's
last
unreasonable.
Friday. We were told to bring more detail into it about the current property owners, their tax ID numbers, and so on, because they know the federal government wants to know exactly what the properties are. So that was completed today. I'm told the declaration will happen
People
tomorrow.
had to sign an NDA for a year that sold their property.
We will not saddle any township with this, and if nothing else, will be done by Friday. Okay, it takes 30 to 45 days to get a result.
Okay, thank you. Jim, this next question is for you. Does anyone on the board or associated with the board stand to profit directly from this deal, land sales and other such things?
The answer to that is yes. This is a small community and we have a lot of cross interests coming in. There is one piece of property within the Renaissance zone that belongs to a family that includes one of our board members. But in the interest of transparency, that was announced clearly when the resolution vote took place. That was made very clear to everyone. And while it's complicated for a charter township, that member abstained from any voting. That member has not made any action or has made any statement as part of our board that would in any way advance his own personal finances. So it is there, but he's done everything himself to make sure that any appearances of impropriety are negated.
How long did you guys know about it
Jim,
before
there's
that
another
happened?
question here asking, will there be an opportunity for public comments? Just a concern that the voices are being heard.
There's always opportunities in the right format. We had folks come in last month to our board meeting like they do every month. There were more than normal. But this is not a board meeting. There's no agenda. There's no business to be conducted. This is
I guess I'm
a
confused.
panel discussion of subject matter experts addressing people's questions. It is hosted by Green Charter Township, but it's not a Green Charter Township action. I know people are looking forward to going to Williams Auditorium and making their voices heard and waving their signs. And there's a time and a place for that. They're out in front of Williams Auditorium right now. I understand there are those that intend to protest here and there are those that intend to protest in front of my house. Welcome to America. But this is not the format.
Who was going in front of your house?
We needed to keep this in the format
I didn't hear
that
anything about
everybody's
that.
seeing, where folks can sit in the comfort of their
Welcome
home,
to America.
hear a conversation and get the answers that they're seeking and not just the rumors and fear mongering that social media have created. So this is not the format, but there are formats for public speaking.
Rumors
We'd be
and
happy
fear mongering.
to see that happen in the proper time.
You know, it's because you're not transparent at all. There's so much secrecy
Jim,
and
the
NDAs.
next question is for you again. You're in the hot seat, Jim. This question is, why were the citizens not allowed to vote
Thank you for joining me.
on something of this magnitude that impacts so
Watching
many individuals?
Team Goshen pretty much lie or dodge questions.
I think there's a bit of confusion here.
So far, I'm disappointed,
Big Rapids Township,
but not surprised.
Chose within their format to consider a referendum vote. But what was being voted on? The industrial park was a property of Big Rapids Charter Township. And so then there's a legitimate question on whether or not that the sale of that township property should be subject to a referendum. There is no publicly owned property in Green Township this involves. These are all privately owned. Okay. I'm sorry, but that's not our way of running a country, that the community gets to get together and decide when one person can sell the land to another. The city of Big Rapids did not have a referendum to decide whether that property could be sold to Hayworth. Agreed City did not have a referendum to decide whether or not that property could be sold.
How about a vote, though, for something so large?
There is no legal
been
grounds
said time and time again, but
address the issue of the sale of that property, and so there's not a referendum to run.
They got bullied, though. These people got bullied into
Jim, the
selling.
next question goes to you
It's
again.
not right.
This question is that a local community member is claiming that all the property is zoned for agriculture and that it is being rezoned to industrial. How many acres are being purchased that's currently zoned agriculture or industrial?
There are roughly 420 acres in the current Renaissance zone, if my calculations are correct. And of those 420, 251 of them are already zoned, already zoned industrial.
So half, so 200
There is
acres of
within that one
agricultural
piece that has,
land.
at the request of the property owner, been zoned industrial, back to agricultural a few years ago. But this property was all zoned industrial 20 years ago in cooperation with Big Rapids Charter Township when they formed their industrial park. Much of those supervisors at that time planned it that way and worked together and cooperated.
I heard that's a lie.
So of the 420 acres, there's 251 that are zoned industrial.
No, 200 acres of
all the property
farmland
that would
where we could grow food.
Any zoning changes would be under the ownership of Gotion. There is no one in Green Township who is being forced to have their zoning changed.
The next
No, they're just
question
forced
is
to sell their
the
farmland.
township asking to rezone any property not part of the Gotion project to industrial?
There is no plans at this time to change any zoning on anything other than what is part of the Gotion project.
Okay. Jim, the next question is for you. We're on a roll.
Okay.
Will this facility be required to meet all local, state, and federal construction, environmental, and operational regulations?
I am the township supervisor of a rural little township that is 6 miles by 6 miles. I don't get the option of telling Lansing to go away. We don't care what you think. There are
so you're
federal,
claiming that you don't have any
state, there
power.
are county standards. All
just
those
followed
standards
the
will be
game
met.
rules.
There are no variances applied
Cowardice.
for, and there are no variances expected. The states and federal standards are the standards and will be enforced.
Thank you guys for joining me. So far,
Next question is what
Highly
fire
disappointed.
service will be responsible to respond to any incident at the facility?
glad I went to the protest instead.
What fire department? Primary response will be the city of Big Rapids. We do
Yes,
and have for many,
He's a
many years
coward.
contracted with the fire division of the Big Rapids Department of
They're all
Public Safety
cowards.
and
That's why
had
they went
excellent
virtual.
service from them. But I will note that while, excuse me, while City of Big Rapids is the contracted fire response, there is within Mecosta County a auto aid system. Anything
The fire
of any
is not ready.
substance such as smoke
Fire
or
station's not
flame
ready.
showing, our emergency dispatch will automatically send, in this case, Big Rapids Township to assist. At the option of the dispatcher
The Australian
or at
Union
the
said
option of the
they
fire
weren't
captain
ready.
of the city of
Lithium
Big
battery
Rapids,
fires are
I
insane.
can tell you something like this.
They're
They
fast.
would automatically
They're
activate
dangerous.
the mutual aid
They can
agreement, and we
reignite,
would see the city of
not
Reed
just
City
once,
coming
twice,
down.
3 times.
From there, the decision would be part of the fire captain, and you are looking at Hersey, Lily Township, Big Prairie, Mecosta Township, Morton Township. To keep right on going, if you don't mind, depending on the size, we are looking at Everett, Ariel if needed, Cadillac,
Yeah, so
Ariel
we'd have
if
to take
needed,
all the firefighters.
Morton,
What if there's a
Cedar
fire somewhere
Springs,
else?
along with the
All the
cities
fire
and the
would be
projects and
preoccupied,
projects
and there'd still be a cloud of toxic
options
gas
continue to grow.
that will
So there
poison
is a
people.
system in place to see
and the land.
sufficient manpower. If you give me just a second, let me explain. I can tell you right now, if a page went out for that, and for those that aren't aware of it, I have for 30 years been a firefighter in this community. I am a captain with Big Rapids Township Fire Department. If this had
You
an
ain't ready.
incident at it, dispatch is going to automatically send the city. They're going to automatically send township. You will have 20 plus firefighters there, probably inside of 10 minutes. Depending on what
Probably
is
inside
called
of
for,
10
we
minutes.
can have 50 plus on scene in 20 minutes. Within a half hour, we could have 100 either there or on the way. And regional departments coming out of Muskegon, Grand Rapids, we have agreements with those. The resources
Hey, look at
grow
this.
and grow and grow. There is and always
Another
has been a
huge
system in
fire.
place for major occurrences, and this is just one more
Now, it is a recycling
challenge
plant,
within
but
those parameters.
the lithium is more dangerous than this recycling plant fire.
This is kind of a follow-on question, but the question here is
That just
is
happened
Big
yesterday.
Rapids Fire Department currently responsible for other manufacturing facilities? And have they completed pre-planning or training for those facilities?
Oh,
Are they
absolutely.
capable?
Absolutely. That is a priority for any fire department, the city, the township, Reed City, any of these people. They analyze where the challenges are, potential challenges, and they pre-plan to respond to them. The city of Big Rapids has a series of pre-planned
And like I said, the fire union, all the firefighters, they weren't ready in Australia.
And so on. You look over the
And we ain't
industrial
ready here,
park
I guarantee it.
on the east side of the city.
I did
To
a
that,
whole
you
video
add
on it. You should check it
that,
out.
City provides
Shows how
coverage into
dangerous
Green
lithium battery
Township.
fires are,
There
how
are
fast.
challenges there, whether it is liquid propane storage or other things. They provide 2 other townships, I believe, over and above us. So those are all standard operating procedures to be ready for anything that could happen.
This last question, Chuck, goes to you. It's still with the fire theme. The question is, it's been said that you will have a response team in the plant. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that response team looks like? Will it be a standalone working for the company? Will they work in partnership with the fire department? How does that work?
Yeah, so your typical response team for a facility like this is multiple faceted. First one is overall the facility will be fenced because we have a lot of very valuable product in here that if somebody wanted to commit an act of terror, we would be a target. So we will have security force to make sure that we keep it safe. Number 2, we will have
I didn't know that.
many people that
You're
are
gonna have security forces
on staff that are EHS specific experts, and they
guarding
will
the battery
recruit many
plant.
people that will have a radio at their desk. If there is an issue, the company I just came from, somebody had a heart event while at work, and they had 10 people at their desk immediately.
Luckily, I never had to
all
guard
well trained in how to handle
lithium
those types
battery
of
plant.
situations. And for us,
I wonder if they have to wear
fire
special
and any kind
equipment.
of containment activities.
I wonder what kind of guns they have.
So we will have our own fire reduction technique and fire suppression. As I mentioned, you have a primary and a secondary system. That will all be, if an event did happen, when that's activated, we automatically contact the township and let them know, hey, we've got something going on here, and give them an assessment of where it is in the plant, what kind of materials might be located in that area, how many people might be in that area, and so on. Give them as much heads up as we can for their response. I don't expect right now, we haven't put it together. I don't think we'll have our own firefighters, if you will, but we will have our experts on staff that understand how to handle a fire.
Thanks.
Oh, well, I'm not.
We're going to move into the next
category. Maybe one last. I'm sorry to cut you off, but one last category is if there is an event where we have what's called a non-conforming material that might be suspect for any reason, we will have a primary containment area, which would be what's called lockout tagout. So you take any non-conforming material, you put it in a shed out back, for lack of a better term, to make sure no people get into it, so they can't accidentally create
a shed out back.
That's another key consideration. So containment areas are very critical to this type of product. Even though we're using lithium phosphates, as remind people, lithium is fairly unstable. A lithium phosphate is not. It's very stable. So the materials we're using are not something that you hear of and see on TV where, oh my gosh, a battery blew up and the car went crazy. We're not making batteries, we're making materials. The materials we're using are the safest in the industry.
Yep, I'm not comforted.
We're going to move to local safety, road, and road improvement questions.
Yeah, since roads
the first
suck in
question
Michigan,
here, Tim, goes to you.
And they're talking about putting toll
Provide
roads
a
in to get more
summary
money
of road improvements that Gotion or its agents, engineers have identified as being necessary to develop this project, and have been planned or in progress with Mecosta County Road Commission or the Michigan Department of Transportation, and if there's any cost data.
Sure. The 2 roads under the Mecosta County Road Commission's jurisdiction would be 220th and 18 Mile. Currently, the current idea for those 2 roads is to widen both of them, 3 lanes on 220th, I believe, and add shoulders to 18 Mile.
Wow.
And upgrade them to a Class A status.
Yep.
And then there will be there will
completely
need to
changed
be
the
some
area.
bridge work on the structure just south of 19 Mile at 220th. That will have to be widened also. Again, those
up north will
are
be
preliminary
poisoned.
ideas. We have not got any design plans. We have not hired a design engineer yet, as there is no funding in place for any of this at this current time. I believe it's being worked on. From these preliminary discussions,
But you know how much you're supposed to be getting. Can't you make
that we've come up with
plans?
for our two roads would be $4.1 million.
Oh, 1.1 million taxpayer dollars
Okay,
going
the next
to
question
widen the
is
road. How
Tim,
about we
Randy,
fill up
and Chuck.
potholes?
Please elaborate on how Goshen will work with local officials to design the facility access in a way that will not overburden traffic patterns in the proposed location.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start on that,
they
and then
never
we can
said
let
how
the
they're gonna
expert speak.
bring the chemicals. I forgot.
When this is ironically, this
I
is
was
also the
looking forward
reason
to
why
that.
we're locating in Green Township and not targeting Big Rapids Township. When you look at the way that we have to put the buildings on site to minimize any kind of encumbrance to any wetlands or anything else,
Welcome.
the buildings are very specifically placed. These buildings are roughly 70 feet tall, so they're a little tall.
So far,
They're
none of
too
my
tall to go
questions
in the
have been
Big Rapids
answered.
Township area because there's a runway
And
that ends there. FAA will not allow anything above
57
50 feet.
minutes in.
So that's why your manufacturing facilities are in the Green Township versus Big Rapids Township. When I first started looking at Big Rapids Township, we were planning on a 10 gigawatt hour battery manufacturer, and that would have fit there. But the scope has changed.
Oh.
And with that change of scope, obviously now all those large buildings have to go in the Green Township area. With that,
bigger buildings.
You really have to be cognizant of your traffic patterns for truck and pedestrian traffic. So since the manufacturing facilities are on the north side of 18 Mile Road, you have all your truck traffic coming off of exit,
what train
19 Mile Road exit, and then coming down to 20th to come into the facility from the north
You're the one
end.
that said it.
So all that road will be updated, as I understand, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the grant money from the state goes towards that road construction, that infrastructure improvement. With that, now you have a lot of people coming in and out of the plant. So to intermix and intermingle truck traffic and foot traffic is a really bad idea. So anytime you design a plant, you have to have a separate entrance for your people.
Setup that he's got.
So
How many people are going to be working that?
There's no happenstance.
Is it going to be 12 hours, 14 hours? What kind of
so
weapons?
That
now that I know about that, I want to
know
know
side, which is on 18 Mile.
More details.
So the pedestrian traffic will come in through 18 Mile, truck traffic coming down through 19 Mile. So that's how we segregate those. It might be a small issue, I'm thinking, for some of our people working there, because if they are coming on the freeway and they want to take exit 19, they still can, but you're going to be fighting with some trucks. And with that, also to be able to use the Big Rapids Township property for any truck parking or warehousing violates that standard of design. And that's why we can't use the BRT land at all.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Because we have to route our truck and pedestrian
doesn't want you there
properly to avoid any
you had to
safety
readjust
concerns.
anyway.
I'm very hopeful that some of our suppliers can utilize the Big Rapids Township
Green
Industrial
Township
Park.
that sold
It's
us out.
prime, it's ready for it.
Not even
They
going
don't
to
have
do
to
a
have such
CIFIS
tall
report.
buildings, and they can come up with their own traffic patterns.
Goshen
But
put
for
one
us,
in.
That's why we came up with this design.
This is Team Goshen.
Randy, the next question is for you. Where will the funding come from to make the necessary infrastructure improvements to support the plant?
Taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, so as part of the incentive negotiation for this project, there was a recognition there was infrastructure needs identified. As time has gone on, we've continued to work with engineering firms to revise those estimates as inflation has taken hold, but we've identified conversations with the local engineering firms, conversations with the road commission, as Tim outlined, some of the road improvements. Green Township had identified some sewer upgrades that are needed.
If they change it
intersection
once,
improvements, that's about just over $19 million of infrastructure improvements that are needed for a project of this scope and a site of this size. And we have a grant lined up with the state of Michigan that will cover those costs.
Right, so taxpayers
incidentally, because of the infrastructure work that's been done over the years, that is a fraction of the cost that you're seeing at other major sites being developed across the state and around the country.
For that grant.
A lot
So
of
we
the
say
infrastructure is already in place.
Is going
so now it's just making some accommodations to handle the scope and size of this project.
I can't do math. It's pathetic.
Jeremy, do you have anything else to add?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
This one,
Math was my weakest subject.
We're going to move on to the incentive questions.
$31 million. Where's that money going in the right place?
So this is Randy or Jeremy.
You getting some of that
can
money,
you explain
Randy?
why non-disclosure agreements are used in projects like this?
Yeah, can you?
Sure. Randy, I'll go ahead and take a stab, and if you want to add anything, please feel free.
Sure.
But when we're vetting a project
Both of these
in an
guys,
effort to be
MEDC.
good fiduciaries of taxpayer money, there are a lot of sensitive materials that we require that are financial and proprietary in nature. And what this means is that if the materials were to get into the wrong hands, it could be detrimental to not only the company, but also the project.
Who's the wrong
So
hands?
additionally, we work with our local communities
What
as
you're saying
they
is
are vitally
China doesn't
important
want
throughout
to
the
tell
vetting
us
process.
how to make our own chips.
Having these non-disclosure
or
agreements or
batteries,
NDAs allows everyone in those agreements full transparency while also keeping the sensitive information protected.
There shouldn't be any
What
sensitive
I do want to
information if
emphasize
taxpayer
is
dollars
that
are
even though
involved.
NDAs have
Period.
been in place, at the time that this goes public for evaluation by respective board, whether it be Jim at the township board meetings or the Michigan Strategic Fund Board, which is my governing body on the state side,
MEDC
these
is talking
projects
about
have the
taxpayer
same
dollars
transparency
being
as
spent.
any other project does, including
Which
the
is like
evaluation
none.
at these public meetings.
Yeah, MEDC is known for
Yeah,
secrecy.
Mike, I might just add, it's somewhat the equivalent of when a city or a township goes into private session or closed session to discuss a land transaction or a legal
No, it's
agreement.
not.
And
that's not
sort
right
of the
either if
analogy
you're
for
supposed to be working for the
Jeremy's
public.
discussion. At the same time, this project has been engaged with the local officials for quite some time. The first call on this project came into Big Rapids Township. After several months of evaluation, it was recognized the site needed to grow. We engaged with Jim Chapman and his team, and they, kept his board
Tell me
fully
when.
apprised throughout
When did
that
it start?
process. And it's been widely public now for 7 months. We've been having a lot of open forum discussions. Big Rapids Township held a few. There's been
And
a
it's
lot
been
of public
going on
meetings
for
both at
2
the county and
years.
at Green Charter Township as well. So it's that moment of NDA has long since passed.
Yeah, but for a year
If
and a
I can
half,
add
you
one
had an
last thing.
NDA.
In the
And there's
private
still
sector,
secretive
in
ingredients
the
behind an
automotive companies
NDA.
I worked for 38 years, I've signed hundreds of these. If you're going to work with multiple customers or in direct competition with each other,
I'm sure you have,
they
Chuck.
require it. You must
know how to
sign
work
these
in
because
secret.
they don't want their trade secrets getting out. It's the innovation that in this country that drives
Chinese
capitalism.
innovation.
And if we
Chinese
have
companies steal other
industrial
companies' innovation all
espionage,
the
for lack of
time.
a better word,
They're coming to
because
our
people aren't
country. We need
following
to
their
know
NDAs,
what they want.
we don't have
what
innovation and
chemicals?
we don't have
What secret
capitalism.
chemicals are these?
So
Secret
NDAs
ingredients.
really do fuel the American way.
If I could add just
And
one
that's
more
what's
thing,
wrong with
because,
America
this
right
is
now.
for Green Charter Township people.
You're spending our money.
I have never been asked to sign an NDA.
You didn't have to. You
That
just kept your mouth
subject
shut.
has never been brought up to me or anybody else at Green Charter Township. When this project came to me and was explained to me, they asked me, Jim, can you keep it confidential for a little while while we work things out and see what happens? They took me at my word. I kept my word. But no
There you
one
go.
asked me to
I didn't even
sign
know
an
that.
NDA.
No one asked me because I already am bought and paid for. Because I
This
want whatever
question
you're going to
goes
offer
to
me.
Randy
I'll
or
keep my
Jeremy.
mouth shut.
Could you
I
please
don't care
provide
about
a
the people
summary
I'm
of
supposed to be
other
working for.
investments in Michigan from Chinese companies? And please highlight any community issues or impacts with these other projects, whether they be positive or negative.
Jeremy, I can start. We've done some research on this, and through the Dow Jones sort of research service that we subscribe to, there are 52 Chinese companies. I think Chuck referenced that earlier. 52 Chinese companies that are
We're not talking
calling
about those
Michigan home
companies.
today. That's the fourth highest concentration of any other country into the state of Michigan. From memory, it's Germany, Japan, Canada, China, and then France are the top 5 companies with
Why
investments.
do we sell our
footholds
land
in the state of
to
Michigan.
other countries?
The largest is Nextier, which bought a major GM facility in Saginaw. It's the largest employer in Saginaw. A couple larger ones in the greater Grand Rapids area would
And
be
none of us got to
J-Star,
say
which
if we
opened up
wanted or not.
relatively recently in Cedar Springs, and Dicastal, which opened up a facility in Greenville. You've had
Greenville's
obviously
the one that
a
had a
pretty
fire.
serious manufacturing challenge in the Greenville location. don't know that anybody can ascribe that to the origin of the country. It's a manufacturing issue. J-Star's had no issues that we're aware of.
A major
Yeah, and
manufacturing
I
that
think
you
just to
you
add to
didn't
that,
predict
bottom
that.
line
You didn't know that was
is
going to
we
happen,
continue
but
to
it did
strive to
happen.
do what we can to continue to move Michigan forward. The MEDC, we work with all sorts of companies, varying from small to big and everywhere in between. To get to the root of the question specifically, over the past 6 years, we've participated in 19 different projects across the state with 18 different companies that have relation to China. These 19 projects
You're telling on
in
yourself,
total
MEDC.
nearly 2.7 billion of investment in the state that we call home. And
2 billion
19
taxpayer
and
dollars
of those 19 projects, we also work to create
foreign
nearly
investment.
4,200 jobs, bringing those to our communities spread across the state.
This next question goes to Randy and Jeremy again, and it's a question asking to explain what the clawbacks are if the company will face if they don't meet the requirements. And there's a specific concern about the hiring, the number of people that's been specified, the 2,350. Can you explain those?
Yeah, let's see.
Sure. Yeah, so all of our tools that are leveraged by the Michigan Strategic Fund are performance-based.
Taxpayer dollars?
Ultimately, it boils down to if a company does not meet or exceed the agreed upon performance metrics, the company does not receive funding. In those situations where the company did perform and were paid some or all of the funds but regressed, there are repayment terms in place to protect our investment into the project. And to the latter part of that question, the performance-based nature of these funds is associated with new job creation and investment, not specifically to the wage.
$480,000
that
per
said,
job. That's
the
how much
company
taxpayers
does
are
have to
paying
remain
for the
competitive in this
2,350
job
jobs
market
that are
with regard to
supposed to be
wages
there
and
by
benefits. And if they're
2031.
not, ultimately they won't meet the
And yeah,
performance
if you've been
metrics.
paying attention to AI, ooh, it's moving so fast.
Jeremy, I would just add they have to be Michigan residents as well to count towards that
Automation is
job
moving
creation
so
number.
quick. Automation Alley,
Correct.
Industry 4.0 down in Detroit, Troy, Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
They
We're
are
going to move
working
to the
very
next
hard
category,
on
economic
getting
effects of
automation into
community
place
housing.
because people don't want to
This
work.
question goes to Chuck, Randy, or
really,
Jim.
because they want to enslave us all with centralized
It's
power.
my understanding that there is a concern about the housing in Big Rapids, that the resources could be overwhelmed. This person says, I'm on the Housing Commission, and I know that we will be building 10 houses this year with 88 spaces total, that there are companies waiting in the wings to build other projects.
Yes.
What are the other resources that might be needed
Another
in the
manufactured
10
crisis,
years
the
that it will
housing
take
crisis.
this project to reach its goal?
Yeah, Mike, I'll
They want to
start on that if
nationalize
you don't
housing.
mind. So
That's more
we've
equitable.
talked already since this
part of
project
the
was
you will
first
own nothing,
announced
be
back
happy.
at the end of September of last year. That has triggered a lot of interest, a lot of developer interest into the greater Big Rapids community, from developers across West Michigan, across the state, even some from Illinois and Indiana. And so we've been cataloging them.
Again,
and they're all
I
sort
thought
of
they could
waiting and
roll
watching
over
to
us
see
poor,
when
dumb
this
country
breaks ground,
folk,
the timing of their
and we would
construction,
just
the
keep our
timing of
mouth
when they'll
shut.
open.
Chew
And then looking at the cadence of hiring, the questioner raises a great point in terms of the cadence. This isn't 2,300 jobs in an instant. This is 2,300 jobs over an 8 to 10 year time period. And so you take that in chunks. You also have to remember people are not going to instantly uproot their families and move to the area. Some people are going to commute in. And not all housing is going to be centered just in Big Rapids area. It's going to be spread throughout a 30-mile radius around the area. The right place, we have partnership agreements with some of the surrounding counties in Montcalm County, Newaygo County, Lake County in particular. We did housing. We had those relationships in place before we partnered up with Mecosta County. We've done housing analysis from those other counties, continue to work on that path, and I would expect us to want to do the same thing with you in Mecosta County. Better understanding what's the volume of housing units that are needed, what type of housing units are needed, and when they'd be needed. But ultimately, developers are interested. They see an opportunity with a project like this, and they will help build some homes in those subdivision lots that have sat idle, or they'll help build some multifamily if that's the need. But housing follows jobs and follows opportunity. It doesn't necessarily lead. And I think here we'll see an opportunity where housing will follow and developers will do what developers do. They'll find an opportunity and provide some good housing stock to complement what's being done with the Housing Commission.
I don't think so.
Maybe a very brief comment on my side, then I think Randy's comments stand for themselves, but
Cousins
we also
right
looked
here.
at the labor study for the area. You have 6,500 people leaving Mecosta County every day to go to work somewhere else because the salaries aren't
Nobody
in the
wants your
levels that they
jobs,
desire
Chuck.
to stay here.
You wouldn't
I
have your
don't
kids
think we're
work
going to be
there.
adding 2,300 houses.
I
I
bet
think we're
you.
going to be employing a lot of people that are already
10
here.
bucks.
A lot of the people, we have 14,000 students per year coming out of Ferris State University, and they don't stay. It's not because they hate us. It's just there's just not
It's
a
on
job
cheap.
here for them. So yeah, they'll have to have some additional housing for that, but they can get us, I hope, to just retain a lot of people that are already in the area.
Again,
Okay,
a
good.
business owner last night at the Green
This
Township
question is for
meeting, they're
Randy
having
or
trouble
Chuck.
finding people
Please
to work right
reflect on how
now.
the Gotion
Lots of
plant
business,
could be
small
an
businesses.
opportunity to be
They're being
pioneers
destroyed.
in a new industry and attract the best and brightest
Small
engineers
business.
and innovators from all over the world.
I'll take
Well,
a quick stab at that first, Randy, if you
Chuck,
don't mind.
How about I go?
And
Because I did this
Okay.
in Holland. I worked in Holland, Michigan when two battery plants came to the area simultaneously about 12 years ago. LG Chem out of Korea, Johnson Controls out of Milwaukee, both decided to put battery plants in that community at the same time. LG actually was quite similar in size and scope to this. They had committed to 3,000 jobs over a
Yep,
period
and
of
it was
time.
disappointing.
They are on pace to be at about
Disappointing results.
2,000 now with more time to go to hit their numbers. And a few things happened. First of all, it opened up a lot of opportunities for jobs, as Chuck just alluded to. So some great opportunities for people to
Terrible
advance their
jobs
career and
that
get on
people
that,
hate.
that economic climb, which is, frankly, why we do economic development, why communities want to grow.
We want to
Second
grow in the
thing,
right
it opened
ways.
up opportunities for area companies of all types to start supplying a facility that size. A new industry with new technology, serving new markets means
That
they
we
need a
didn't
new
ask
supply
for.
chain. And so that opened up a lot of opportunities for all kinds of businesses, whether it's metal stampers, whether it's machine shops, whether it's automated equipment companies, as well as all of the things, all the services that are needed to
Automated
support a
equipment companies
facility
are
like
doing
this,
really well in
whether it's
Holland.
simple things like catering or lawn services,
In the last
building
year
maintenance,
alone,
you
they've
name it.
doubled
So
their
there's a lot of
capacity,
economic
doubled
spin-off
their
that
output
occurs
of
in and around
automation.
that plant that
Just
becomes
think
a bit
about
of a
another
magnet, economic magnet. The other interesting thing that happened there, and I expect will happen in Big Rapids, is it brought some extraordinary technology-minded people to the community and saw it in a way that they hadn't before. We had a number of battery experts from across the country coming through Holland, Michigan, looking to see what this industry was all about. We developed a partnership with a national lab, Argonne National Laboratory out of Chicago, to connect it up with Hope College and Michigan State, and had a really nice partnership there. I imagine that will open up similar opportunities for Ferris and bring some really bright minds to that campus.
Somebody that worked at the Holland
So
plant.
it really did put that community on the map.
If
And I
anything were
think
to
what's
happen,
happening
everybody
here
in
with an
Holland would be
anode and
dead.
cathode battery
That's what he
components
said.
plant provides Big Rapids that
He
similar
told his
kind of
mom that.
opportunity.
And his mom told my husband that
Chuck, your thoughts?
he was working at her
Yeah,
home.
thank you. And I'm going to speak for Ferris a little bit since you're the moderator and you can't speak.
Very dangerous.
Lithium-ion battery technology was under development for many, many years. Roughly 2001, Dr. Goodenough really perfected this. And he came up with a way to do this. He was recognized by what's called a Japanese award at that time. It's like their equivalent of a Nobel.
The universe is funny.
And at that point, Asia took great notice to this.
God is funny.
Right? So China, Japan, Korea, they all started to make leapfrog monumental benefits in technology and innovation on this product. So what this is going to do is by bringing this kind of technology here with the product and the process, this will give Americans a chance to catch up. Okay, and those Americans locally are going to be out of Ferris, MSU, U of M, Grand Valley State University. That you're going to see an awful lot of, I think, focus come into this area because traditionally Michigan is an automotive hub. We've kind of lost that in the past years, but we're trying to gain that back.
Let's do pure Michigan instead.
And
Let's
when
get
you
recreational
see these
going.
people getting these educations, I don't want to say we're going to leapfrog technology, but we're going to completely evolve it, right? It's going to continue to move forward. So I think the best minds will be drawn to these locations with the grants that I've already seen. being distributed to some of these
Oh,
colleges.
so you mean bribing? You're
I
bribing
think
people.
that new center of expertise,
You're bribing
right now
companies
they're
to
calling
come.
the South, I'll call Southeast the battery belt.
That's what grants
But
are.
the
Bribes.
overall engineering side of things still up for grabs. So I think we'll bring the innovators, if we do it properly, we'll bring the innovators into this area, and Michigan will regain its position of automotive hub.
We don't want to be the EV automotive hub. Nobody asked
Good.
us.
This next question, Jim, I'm going to have you start, and then maybe Chuck can finish up
We don't want
the
Silicon
question.
Valley here
Why
in
build
Michigan.
this plant on farmland? Let's build the plant in the city of Detroit, where we have the utilities, land, and labor available, and we'll serve the rural.
Keep all the poison near each
I
other.
got a problem with that. It's a good one for me to start. My family is 7 generations of farmers in this county. I can tell you this is not farmland. What my grandfather, you couldn't raise your voice on. This is not farmland. There is one 60-acre section in this thing that one farmers pay on.
God, his mic is terrible.
God knows how many decades. On top of that, it was zoned industrial. It has been zoned industrial for 20 years. That's what
It's agricultural. We need to grow food.
Designated for
Supply chain issues are
zoning system, and
real.
it just matches what's coming.
Can't understand them anyway.
Hey, Jim,
Ah, there you go.
I
Somebody's
apologize for
finally gonna
interrupting you.
tell.
I really didn't want to do that, but you're having a lot of reverb. So I think just a reminder to folks, please make sure that you're muted if you're not speaking at the time.
Okay, sorry about that. My voice is loud. But yeah,
Is there more than one mic in your vicinity, Jim?
no.
Jim
Maybe Mike,
doesn't know
if
what
you
he's
also
doing.
mute while he's speaking.
Okay.
All right, sounds like it's cleared itself up. My apologies. All right, real quick and simple. This isn't farmland. My family's 7 generations of farming in this county.
We need to grow
This
food.
isn't farmland. This thing couldn't raise autumn olive on it. There is a 167.
What about cows? Could cows eat
that
on it?
about 20 acres of it's cut for hay. That's pretty much it. But most
Well,
of this
hay
land
is for the cows,
has
right?
been designated for industrial usage for the last 20 years. And this matches what that land was designed for.
Yes, I know I keep saying about food supply, but it's the biggest concern
Okay, I'll put in my
in the
2
next
cents
2
worth
years
since
is going to be food
my
supply.
name is mentioned there, Michael.
And we're not doing anything
Yes.
about it. You can't eat EV
Everything
batteries.
that Jim said is in addition to when we brought this opportunity to the state of Michigan, and specifically when I called Big Rapids Township to begin with. This got on the calendar, if you will, of the SOAR committee. So this is the strategic committee set up by the state of Michigan to bring
All right,
businesses in.
another government
As I understand, there were
bribery
basically 4
institution
businesses
takes our
that
money and
kind of
bribes
drove that
people.
whole SOAR conversation. We had, if I remember correctly, last fall, a meeting with that SOAR committee and all of their bipartisan members. The bipartisan members saw this as a huge opportunity to bring a good paying job standard into an area that sorely needs it. Maybe that was not a good pun. The area that definitely needs it. So after that agreement was made with that committee out of the Senate and House, I believe it was, that SOAR committee, bipartisan SOAR committee said, yes, let's put this there. We can help a lot of people in this area. Again, it was looked at, is this, we'll call it
And
for lack of a
now
better
that we
word, an
don't want
impoverished
it,
area?
why
Is
won't
this
you
a development
listen?
area? Can we make this
It's so
really
frustrating.
help the center of the state of Michigan? And that's why that bipartisan team at that time decided, yep, this is a good idea, let's move forward. So as
Okay,
you may have
says
heard
another
and read,
2,000 acre
the House
site
of
in Clinton
Representatives
County's
already
Eagle
moved this
Township.
forward.
That's a big one.
The Senate, we've already
With
spoken
an
to them,
EV
we're
battery
waiting for
plant getting
their
put on it?
vote.
Or
But
some kind of EV tech?
as Jim said, it's not necessarily tearing down agricultural land, it's building up a community.
And is that mostly farmland? Because they are.
Thank
They're
you. We're going to move
taking
to
our
the
farmland.
green energy power grid questions.
You can't eat
and
wind
Patrick, this
turbines,
question
you can't
is
eat
for
solar
you.
panels, and you can't eat EV tech.
Goshen has stated that they would like 100% green energy.
Here we
to their
go.
plant. And I've heard some people say they don't understand how Goshen can install that many wind turbines or
And it
solar
looks so
power
bad. I went to
panels on
Cadillac
their property.
2 days ago.
Can you explain how that works?
3 days ago.
Yeah,
Ugh.
thank you, Dean.
It's like going to
We first of all, I just want to be
Mordor.
clear, and Chuck can probably clarify this too. Goshen is not going to be installing any solar panels or wind turbines on their property. Rather, they're working with us at Consumers Energy to supply their request for sustainable energy through the use of our existing infrastructure and our planned infrastructure of renewable energy. And since the grid is connected, we're able to dedicate those renewable resources
just
that
so you
they
could
are
say. So now
requesting
those
from
renewables are
throughout
going from
sites all
somewhere
over
else
Michigan.
to here, so
This
we could
will
say it's
achieve
100%
their
renewable.
sustainability goals and help protect the planet, which is a goal we
It doesn't
share.
help protect the planet to put wind turbines
And
Yeah,
all
and
over
I'll
the
just add
place
to that just a little
and
bit.
solar panels all
So
over the
in our other
place.
facilities around the world, we definitely use solar panel collectors quite religiously. You can't do that in this site because if you point a bunch of mirrors up in the sky next to a runway, FAA does not approve of that. So you will not have wind towers, you will not have a solar farm here. It's not conducive to air traffic.
Yeah, it's not conducive to the earth either.
Patrick, the next question is for you as well. How will Goshen's power draw affect the homes in the area, the electrical supply to the homes in the area?
Yeah, thanks again. The proposed plant will not affect the power supply to our homes and businesses locally.
Yeah, he's reading
This
something.
project wouldn't even be feasible unless we were confident with the infrastructure to ensure a high level of reliability for both Goshen and the entire Big Rapids region.
Consumers Energy is 100%
And
going
this next
towards the
question is
UN
kind
Agenda
of
21
fits
2030
right in
Sustainable
with the
Development
last answer,
Agenda.
but it's more pointed.
They will not let you get
Should
an
we be
analog meter
concerned
put
about
on your
blackout?
house.
Right.
Like some states,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
a
still
great
get an analog
question.
meter put
No,
on
there
because
is
dirty
no need to be
electricity is a thing.
concerned about
Consumer
blackouts
says
because of
can't
this
do it.
proposed
One of the
plant.
most
And in
corrupt
fact,
energy
we will be
companies
upgrading
in the
our
United
high
States of
voltage
America,
and low
Consumers
voltage
Energy.
lines to support the temporary and permanent needs of the project. These upgrades are going to serve the proposed project and will improve the reliability in this area by upgrading poles, lines, equipment, and even adding an additional substation.
Why didn't you do that before? Like, why don't you update your stuff so we don't have to constantly have power outages?
And how is the Consumers Energy providing sustainable source power?
Yeah, so we're working directly with Goshen as we would with any other business to fulfill this request for renewable and sustainable energy. And as I stated before, they're going to be purchasing those energy credits through our existing and planned expansion of energy production.
Energy credits are bullshit. Look into it. It's just
Good.
so they could say that they're 100%
questions that don't really fall into any one of the buckets before, so we're just going to do our lightning round and then wrap up. This next question goes to Randy. Are there studies of other such plants that the public could evaluate before plans are implemented to build this plant?
Yeah, Mike, thank you. Yeah, this question caused us to go back and dig in deeper. We did find a handful of battery-related studies that can show both economic impact for community and statewide. So I think Jim mentioned earlier, we'll be answering all these questions in writing, and we'll provide a list of those types of studies here shortly.
Do you see that right there? That's a tractor that's burying them underground
Tim,
because you can't do anything with them. They're not recyclable.
What effect will the plant have on roads compared to the potash mine in Everett?
For wind turbine blades.
I can't speak to the potash mine.
Is that good for the planet?
Started up. That's not a project right now that's working, but like Chuck mentioned before, the heavy commercial traffic, which would be the concerning traffic, it drives a half mile north and it's on state trunk lines. So they'll be mostly on the expressway and not affecting our local roads so much.
Okay. We'll do one last question here and then we'll do our wrap-ups. Last question here is for Randy and Chuck, and I'm going to read it as is. Who solicited whom? Did Randy Thalen of the Right Place contact his cousin Chuck Thalen of Goshen, or the other way around?
Yeah, so we've mentioned this many, many, many times, Mike, but Chuck and I did discover that we're cousins, distant cousins. My first call on this project was from Bill Stanek at Big Rapids Township. Within days, we had a conference call with Chuck, and we spent probably the first 5 minutes, as you might imagine, trying to figure out who each other was, how we might be related, and we couldn't figure that out. I went to my mom, who's the authority on this, and after about a month of digging, she discovered that we're second cousins. We had never met before. I've never seen Chuck at a family reunion or potluck. Brent Case on my team, who's done a marvelous job with this project, has really run point for us just to try to keep any concerns of that conflict at ease or at bay. But I assure you, there's no conflict, there's no arrangement, there's no nothing. It's just a fluke. It's just a fluke.
Yep, it's just a coincidence.
I'll add a little limerick to that. I smiled because I originally contacted Big Rapids Township because, as I mentioned, we planned on a 10 gigawatt hour facility and it would fit there. After a bit of conversation, he said, I need to bring in the MEDC in the right place. I'd never heard of the right place before. And then when I got on the phone and Brent introduced his boss, Randy Thalen, I said, you got to be kidding me, another Thalen. It took us quite a while to determine even if we've ever met. And the answer was no. I've never seen him. I've never met him until the first time I think we met was downtown Grand Rapids many months after, because we've seen each other on the phone calls, but never really met in person.
Nor do I want to try to dig into
my
anything.
parents are no longer living. I could not go to that resource, so I have to trust Randy's mother's input to say that we are related somehow. But we never knew each other before this.
Before this deal.
Okay, thank you.
But we do have a father with the same name, so that was very ironic. That's why I smiled.
So we have gone through a bunch of questions tonight and hopefully answered many of the concerns that have been raised. As has been stated,
No, you didn't. I'm done. An hour and 27 minutes of bull. I'm not gonna lie, it was bull. I want to see the environmental report. I want to know the secret chemicals, like everyone has said. This panel, I'm not going to say a waste of time, maybe just a little. I did get to learn about the security. So I did learn one thing, that there's going to be security forces guarding the plant and a fence. So I want to know more about that. Again, what kind of guns are they going to have? How many on each shift? Are they going to have like a gate shack? A guard shack? A gate guard. I mixed the two. Gate guard, guard shack. Yeah. I am disappointed. I don't think that the fire is ready. They didn't answer really any of those questions. Let me know what you guys think. So it was my first time watching it. My only time gonna watch it. And I give it a D-. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this video. I thought that it was important at least to know everything that was said, so that way I'm caught up. I want to know and be informed about what's going on and what exactly they have revealed. So not much in this one. Again, nothing about the train system. That's another thing that I really want them to talk about, because the train systems are obviously deteriorating and I don't trust them. A side note, I just heard about Newaygo getting a recycling center right there in downtown Newaygo, where I think that used to be the train station that's on the river. And yeah, a recycling plant is going to be placed there now. And Jim Chapman was actually the one that said something about it. We should be concerned about that. I am concerned now that I know about it. I am going to be doing a video on that. So, and make sure you check that out. I'm also going to do a video on the dam situation that's going on, because sustainable development is against dams, and there's tons around here that are going to be shuttered if we don't try to stop the sustainable development plan. I don't know if we can, but awareness is the first step. Strengthen numbers. I'm going to finish off with this 9-year-old that has something to say. I think it's 2 minutes. I'll just do the whole thing. I'm not about the school boards on this channel, but She's awesome.
Novely here again. The other day I was walking down the hallway at Lakeview Elementary School to give a teacher a retiring gift. I looked up onto the wall and saw a BLM poster and an Amanda Gorman poster. In case you don't know who that chick is, she's some girl who did a poem at Biden's so-called inauguration. I was so mad. I was told 2 weeks ago at this very meeting spot, no politics in school. I believed what you said at this meeting. So at lunch, I went up to my principal to tell him about the BLM poster and that I wanted it down. He said it's not coming down. I was like, yeah, it is, because the school board said on May 25th, no BLM or politics in school. He said, that's weird. They were the ones who made them. I was stunned. When I was here 2 weeks ago, you told us to report any BLM in our schools. Apparently, you know they're in our schools because you made the signs. I said there should be no BLM in schools, period. It does not matter the color you make the posters and the font you use. We all understand the meaning. It is a political message about getting rid of police officers, rioting, burning buildings down while King Governor Welch just sits on his throne and watches. We all know. Changing the font or the color of posters does not change the meaning. I am 9 years old and I know that. You expect me to believe that you did not know what you were doing by making these posters? Come on, people. I do not judge people by the color of their skin. I don't really care what color their hair, skin, or eyes is. I judge by the content or the way they treat me. MLK said, I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That dream has come true. I do not care or look at the color of skin, but you make me think of it. I have Asian, Mexican, white, Chinese, black friends, and I don't care. I like them because some of them make me laugh, some are sweet and kind, sporty, or share the love of God. They are just my friends. You have lied to me, and I am very disappointed in all of you. You cannot even follow your own rules. If you're going to do that, why do we follow any rules we deemed unfit or ridiculous? I'm not following your mask rule anymore then. Get the posters out of our schools. Courage is contagious, so be courageous.
I love that. Courage is contagious, so be courageous. Thank you to you, little 9-year-old. I love your heart. I appreciate you. And I will be stealing that line because I love it. I think it's perfect for the situation. Talking to these people that are on Team Goshen, including the Green Township Board, can seem disheartening because they don't seem like they care. But this isn't for them anymore. This is for us. Because courage is contagious, we need to continue to stand up and show that we are not alone, that you are not alone in how you feel. And by seeing other people stand up and use their voice and express their concerns, you give courage to others to do so, and then we keep growing in numbers. So I will keep going out to all the meetings that I possibly can. I will stay on this Goshen story, but I also am going to get into this Newaygo story as well with the recycling plant because, again, the toxic chemicals that they're going to use to burn the trash at this recycling plant is terrible. They are terrible. And so I'm going to be on it. I don't want sustainable development to come here. And so I'm going to try to keep using my voice and spreading awareness. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to try to do a couple videos this afternoon, but they're going to be much shorter. So thank you again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.